got to try and shake off these hits and get into the rhythm of the football game.
Marcus Adams with the hit. 4 receivers to the near side. Martel Mallet up to the 50-yard line, has 3.
They're talking to G. Roy Simon, talking to some of the teammates. They talked about how Casey Printers comes in and has just been the perfect teammate, has tried to work himself into the lineup as far as taking each step one at a time. Started out as the 5th quarterback. The BC Lions, the only team in the CFL that have won with 3 different quarterbacks this year. Let's see if they want to see if they can make it 4.
With the outstanding player from 2004. Over 5,000 yards that year. It's 2nd and long, 2nd and 7. Here comes the heat. And Printers does some dancing. And now heaves downfield. Jabbar! G. Roy Simon's got it! And Omar Morgan has to drag him down from behind.
This is what he brings to the table, and this is what everybody wanted to see from the BC Lions and the Vancouver fan base, is whether or not Casey Printers could get back to that form. And when I asked G. Roy Simon about the return of Printers, he just had a big smile on his face. He said, you know, in practice, he looks like the old guy. He can move around. He can get and buy himself some time and throw on the run. And the favorite target in 2004 for Printers was number 81, G. Roy Simon, who had 1,700+ yards that year.
Just went over 1,000 yards for the 7th consecutive year. Looks like he's feeling the effects of the hit as he shrugs the right shoulder. Goes down. And Mallet and Stevie Banks holding on, makes the tackle. Defensive player of the week, as he was in week 1 when he faced the Lions.
And G. Roy Simon off to a good start because he, throughout the season, has had his issues at times with this team, Saskatchewan. There's his 1,000-yard season. 2009 with that throw from Casey Printers. The first 2 games, he had just 3 catches in one of them and 2 in the other.
6 for 134 the last time.
That's right. He broke out of it there.
2nd and 10. Ball on the Rough Rider 20. Running out of time, drops it off, and Emmanuel Arsenault can't hold on. Arsenault playing with a broken bone in his hand, and he had 1 catch last week. Should have had a catch here.
3 games that Emmanuel Arsenault has played against Saskatchewan secondary, he's had 40 yards exactly in all 3 games. And it's going to be a challenge for him. He's going to probably have to use his body a little bit more and try and get in front of the ball, use his body as a backstop with his hand injured like it is. You got to admire his courage for being out there. But a decent drive for the BC Lions and a chance to get the first points on the board.
Paul McCallum's 5 for 5 since he returned. And the former Rough Rider splits the uprights. First points of the game go to the Lions. 3-0 BC. The bench seemed to be favoring the right shoulder after that 40-yard grab. Lions have been slow starters. 1 field goal in the opening quarter of their last 4 games, and a McCallum field goal here for a 3-0 lead midway through the first quarter. And here's Jason Armstead. And Armstead into high gear across the 50. He was involved in some chirping with the Lions during the player introductions. There is a penalty marker on the play. Looks like it could be offside against BC.
24-yard return average for Jason Armstead since joining the Riders this year.
BC Saskatchewan number 49. Penalties declined.
I think it had to be offside BC.
BC declined, and they'll take the yardage, yes.
A good field position for the Rough Riders at their 53. 4 receivers to the far side. They go that way. Lockdown's got a 2nd catch. And not much there against the field corner, Treston George.
Darian Durant is 12-6-1 after that tie last week to the Calgary Stampeders as a starter for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Wes Cates has to get involved more. Just 5 carries last week. There's the receiving core. Andy Fantu's big game versus Calgary, 10 for 149. and a touchdown. And the offensive line with Gene Mikowski, the veteran, at tackle.
2nd and 8. Keats releases. That pass is incomplete as Durant tried to go back to Rob Bagg.
Mentioned Wes Cates and struggled last week, just 5 carries, 29 yards, 5.8 yard average. And you know, in the 2 games that he played against the BC Lions, he struggled there too. And he had the 80-yard game against Toronto. But this time of year, you need to get that running game going. I won't be surprised to see the Riders go more to Wes Cates as this one goes on.
Back-to-back 2 and outs to start for Saskatchewan. On to the boot. Former Seattle Seahawks Michael Pumpus dropped it and picked it up in a hurry. That was an adventure. 40-yard punt. 8 on the return. 3-0 Lions. Casey Printers at the helm and Ray Morrison on the sidelines.
And you guys mentioned earlier, Chris, about how Casey Printers has basically only had 1 day of practice to prepare for this game at Regina's Mosaic Stadium. And traditionally, it is not a stadium that Casey Printers has excelled at. It is a stadium where the interceptions by far and away outweigh the touchdowns. The BC Lions are really looking forward to getting home next week. They play at home, which may mean a couple of extra days of practice. But as we've seen early today, the communication between the coaching staff and Casey and running this offense has been very, very good.
Always has had trouble against Saskatchewan, though. 7 starts, no 300-yard games against the Roughriders. First down to Martin Mallett, third in the league in rushing, who had last week off. Not able to put a dent in that front as Ray Williams filled the hole, the middle linebacker.
Well, when you look at the defenses over the last couple of years here in Saskatchewan, there's been a lot of quarterbacks that have struggled at Mosaic Stadium, without question. Played a very aggressive style of defense back when Richie Hall was the coordinator, but also now in 2009. So it's Casey Printers that struggled here.
Oh, you're right. 4 of the last 6 meetings, BC quarterbacks held to under 200 yards passing. Blitz is coming on 2nd and long, and Printers is dropped back at the 15-yard line. Eddie Davis on the halfback blitz.
He disguises it well. He comes from way back outside, and he is unblocked as Eddie Davis is going to limp off the field here, number 29. He's coming from outside the hash mark, hits the line of scrimmage full speed. Printers tries to bounce outside him and try and make him miss, but can't. Eddie Davis, a sure tackle on a very elusive quarterback in Printers to get him down.
2nd sack of the year for Davis, both against the Lions, but that's not a good sign as he's on the limp with the Rough Rider bench. McCallum boots it away. Short kick, Armstead on the run. Look at this field position as Armstead's guided up inside the Lion 40. So Eddie Davis, the 36-year-old, still in some difficulty as they check his left knee. And the offense on the field for the Rough Riders. Wes Cates with a stutter step, and Cates dropped at the 34 as we set the Lions defense for you.
Well, we have the 2 sack leaders in the CFL heading into this week, and Stevie Baggs, and on the other side it's Ricky Foley, both with 11 sacks on the season. Brent Johnson, a little bit of an off year for him. Juwan Armour's in the middle of the linebacking core and was very vocal in the player introductions for this one. And Baron Miles moved into 3rd place all-time in the interception leaders CFL history with 2 last week.
2nd and 6, 6 receivers out. Durant, crosser, Cates got it. First down, Saskatchewan. Corey Banks there defensively for the Lions.
This play works well, Chris, because of the blocking up front by the offensive line, because in order for this play to work, the 5 guys up front have got to allow Wes Cates to come all the way along across the field and have the linebackers continue to drop for the Lions to allow some time and a little space to turn and run. But you have to have the protection up front to get that pass out of there.
9 and a first down. 4 receivers short side, and now the motion the other way. The Cates off the right side and down to the 21-yard line. Wes Cates, 8th in league rushing. Entered the game 200 yards short of becoming the 8th 1,000-yard rusher on the year.
Yeah, and he's sort of on pace for just shy of 1,000 yards, so he needs to have a big game down the stretch here to try and make it 8. And every single starting tailback in the Canadian Football League over 1,000 yards, which has never happened in CFL history.
2nd and 7. Good pressure. Durant buys some time and gets it away into the end zone. Claremont looking for it, and it's intercepted. Picked off. Baron Miles has his 6th of the year and number 64 in his career.
And it really is an amazing accomplishment, folks, when you consider in the 100-year history of this league, the top 3 includes Baron Miles when it comes to interceptions. And he started out low there. He started out right up at the line of scrimmage, trying to what's called rob the curl underneath. He realized that the scramble was on, went deep and got in front of Jason Claremont, and then won the jump ball for his 64th in what has been a tremendous 12-year career for Baron Miles.
Getting better with age. That's 4 in the last 4 games for Baron Miles. Roughriders come away empty. Printers back to work. And more pressure. Takes out. And steps out in front of Jarrell Freeman. And looks like Printers has close to 5.
Darian Durant throws that interception. Really has been an issue for Darian Durant against the BC Lions. Gives the KC Printers a chance to get that field position back. First game of the year versus BC had 3 interceptions. Problem that he seemed to solve, but it's really ugly hitting him.
7 to 5. More pressure. Printers downfield. Arsenault's got it. First down up at the 48-yard line. Across his body, Casey Printers finds Emmanuel Arsenault.
Well, what I like about what he's doing so far is that he's moving around in the pocket but keeping his eyes downfield. Because he's been out of action for so long, Casey Printers, it would be easy for him to look at the pass rush, start looking at the defensive line, but he's keeping his eyes downfield, and that is a very difficult throw to make, folks, and he goes across his body with pressure in front of him and throws a strike.
19. Printers to Arsenault, the first down at the 49. Whoops. A footing problem there. Dumps it out to Bumpus, and he's dragged down by Sean Lucas. And Casey's got a smile. A little bit of rust, or just maybe just a slippery track.
Well, there's a lot going on right now. I mean, here's a guy who has not played all season long. He's been in the Lions camp since September 21st. Timing off a little bit there as on the play action fake to Martel Mallet there. He got hit in the shoulder, which bumped him off, lost his balance, and threw it from his knees on the hip screen.
Joined the Lions October 2nd. 3rd game on the roster, and now his first start. Looking at 2nd and 12, more heat, and Lucas gets there. Off the edge, they get to Printers again. A steady dose of Rough Rider pressure.
Yeah, and there's no question that this is what you do when you're facing a quarterback, even if it is a former outstanding player at quarterback. This is what you do on defense. You send pressure from the line.